Welcome to a new series of videos I'm going to do, called Shelf by Shelf, where essentially I'm going to go through every single shelf in my collection and give you my honest opinions about the games. Now, there are games in my collection I've still not played to date, and some that we have played countless times, so there's going to be a good disparity of titles to talk about. And today will be obviously the first video where I'll be going through 5 different titles, very different titles as well. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been playing all of these games with the family so that I can give you my honest opinions about them all. And I'll be telling you whether I think they're games that I want to keep, whether we should play them again and give them another chance, or whether we should sell them on. So, without further ado, let's begin the first video in this series. So first up is going to be a Game of Thrones the board game, 2nd edition, from Fantasy Flight Games. And I've had this game for countless years, and we only ever got it out once to actually try. So this video has encouraged me to get it to the table more, and over the last few weeks we played it a lot. We've got a good understanding of how the game works now. And I bought this because my group loves strategy games. Shogun is one of my favourite games of all time. We enjoy Twilight Imperium. We enjoy large, big strategy games where we're conquering and building empires and challenging everybody else at the table to be the best. And Game of Thrones was a universe I was very invested in because of the show many years ago, so I picked this up, but we just never got around to it. And now, I can safely say that trying it, I'm really impressed with the game. And it's been around for a long time. I've heard so much praise of it over the years, but I didn't really know what to expect. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a bit like a Risk game or a bit more in-depth. And I'm glad to say that Game of Thrones feels very different to everything else I've got. It has a lot of standout qualities. The core game objective is quite simple. You need to take control of so many castles on the board to achieve victory. And you're going to be competing against everybody else to achieve that goal. However, you all have limited forces. And as you start to spread out your territory and expand and take new zones, you're going to spread your forces thinner and thinner. And this is obviously going to expose you to the enemy. And this game is a game of shifting alliances. You can make peace, you can make allegiances with other people at the table, and you can betray them. It is true to the source material, the books, the TV shows. It's very true to that, where the houses can turn on one another in an instant. And it's really good for that. You get a lot of social interaction. You have a good laugh. You're chatting with people at the table, being friends with them 1 minute, and then the next minute you're attacking them in a position they didn't even expect. And it's really good for that. It brings that Game of Thrones feel to the table. And I like that. I like that very much. It has some standout qualities as well, some standout little features that I like the supply mechanic. You can have armies. Every time you have more than one unit in a square, it's classed as an army. You can only have so many armies dependent on how many supply that you can actually create for your house. So if you can generate 3 supply, you might have a few armies that you can support. You generate 6 or 7 supply, you can have a lot more and field more. It's really good. I like that system. Obviously, you can call in the main characters of the various houses that you play. It's just genuinely a very good game. We all quite enjoyed it. I think we're going to get this to the table a fair few times now. I'd like to play it with a full 5-player count if I can, and experience a lot more of the political intrigue and the challenge of having more people at the table. I think will be great. But Game of Thrones has given us a very good first impression, and we really like it. So it's definitely one that's going to be sticking around for now. I don't know if it's a keeper for life, but we really liked it, and it's given us a great first few sessions. Blockus was a game that really didn't need any decision making. We've already made this decision many, many years ago. It's going to stay in the collection. But nevertheless, we got it out. We had fun playing the game. It's not a game I absolutely adore, because I do find it quite challenging and difficult as you're playing your pieces in an effort to get them all on the board whilst the opponents block you. I find it quite challenging, and I think I've only ever won this game maybe once, twice maximum. And considering how many games of it I've played, that's a very poor performance. Even so, everyone really loves this, and the rules, being extremely simple, make this an accessible game that we can get out anytime we fancy a filler title, something to warm up with. This is a game that hits the table countless times, over and over again. Essentially, you keep putting your pieces down, you're trying to position your pieces strategically. It is a very heavy strategy game for a game that looks like a little puzzly party game. It's a very strategic game about placing your pieces in the right places to let you get everything down, or as many down as possible. The least you have in your hand at the end of the game, the better. And it can be a vindictive game too. You can really lay into somebody in this game. You can block them out of the game and stop them putting pieces down if you're really harsh on somebody. But I do tend to find that the game is very well balanced, where you're not really going to be trying to do that, because if you're just focusing on one person, if you're playing a 4-player game, if you're focusing on one person, then you're leaving your other flank completely open as people just lay whatever pieces down they want. And in this game, at the start, it feels like a land grab. You are trying to grab as much space as you can. You're trying to put down as many complicated pieces as you can, because there's a massive open space to play with. In the latter part of the game, when most of everybody's pieces are on the board, it becomes a lot more thinky, a lot more thoughtful about your moves, your turns, your placement. I do enjoy it. I don't love it, but maybe that's because I find it quite difficult to win. Even so, this game's a keeper for life. My group is going to continue playing this. Last Chance is a game that I played when I was a young kid. My family picked this up at a charity shop, and it was enjoyable entertainment at the time. I know it's not a great game, but it's one I enjoy, and that's the reason it's going to stay in my collection. In the game, it's essentially gambling. There's a big emphasis on the gambling side, so it's not good in that respect. But if you're just playing a board game and you're not actually gambling with real money, it's fine. So what happens is a card is drawn and it tells you how many rolls you have to get it. You will then bid against each other to try and decide who is going to get to do the card. And obviously the more you bid, the less your winnings are going to be, because the card will give you so much for winning the card and succeeding at the card. But if you're bidding 1,000 to get the card and it only pays out 1,800, you're only going to get 800 winnings at the end. So there's a bit of a strategic bidding warfare there going on. You don't want to go too high, because then it's not worth doing the card. And obviously, you don't want somebody to get it too cheap either. And then they've obviously got to roll the dice. Everybody else is not out of the game though. They can bid on the outcome. They can place a bid up to 1,000 on whether they think you're going to accomplish it or not. Simply yes or no, and put the money in the middle, and then watch to see it unfold. At the end, if they complete it, the house is going to pay everybody out, and the winner of the card will get all of the money for it. If they fail to complete the card is going to stay in the middle with all of the dice that have been allocated to it. And then there'll be a new round of bidding to have another go at that. So if they fill all the spots and only one dice is left, let's say they need a 6 and they didn't roll it, now you're all bidding to have 4 rolls just to get a 6. And it's amazing how many times even that doesn't work. But people will fight over the opportunity to do it, because the winnings can be a lot. You can be winning thousands for doing these cards. And it's great, it's great. I don't like gambling in real life. I'm not a gambler. But in a game, I find it enjoyable. I really like it. And Last Chance allows me to do that. There's a point where you can just say, last chance, I'm throwing in all my money, I'm going to do this card, I want this card. And I enjoy that. I enjoy building up piles of chips, feeling like I've started off the game very poor and I'm coming out rich. It's an enjoyable game, an old one, and I don't see it being one that I'd recommend to people. It's just one that my group like and has a certain place in my heart because it's an older game I played when I was younger. It's one that's going to stick around for a long time. Right, for those solo gamers out there and the Warhammer fans, I have obviously Warhammer Age of Sigmar, the Rise and Fall of Anvalor from WizKids. And this is an exceptionally unique game in my collection. I say it quite a lot, there's nothing like it. And Anvalor fits that bill. There's nothing like it in my collection. It is going to be a game of building up a city with structures and troops, which are represented by the tiles, your deck of cards, and you'll be trying to defend it against the assaulting force. And over the course of the game, you're going to play troops and buildings into these spots on the board in an effort to build up your resources so that you can play bigger troops. And the soldiers are there to defend the city from where the attack comes. And there are 4 different sides to the board, 4 different ways that the enemy can assault the city. And what happens is they cross the board and destroy everything in their path from the direction that they assault. So you're positioning your troops strategically to cover yourself from all different angles. This is a game I cannot recommend to anybody. It's a very hard one to recommend because it's very unique. It's not the easiest to understand, but it is, for me, an enjoyable game. It is designed with multiplayer in mind, so it is a multiplayer game, but the solo mode doesn't feel like it's just attached on. I'll cover both now separately. So the multiplayer mode, you're all sharing the building space together. The central board represents the city of Anvalor, and you're all going to be placing your buildings and placing your units strategically to defend from these assaults. And you're going to be sharing the space with the other people at the table. But it is a competitive game as well. You're trying to win through having the most victory points, and you gain victory points through defeating assaulting forces. To do this, obviously, you need to deploy strong units, and you need to position them so that they're ready for where the assault is coming from. And if you position them on the wrong side and the attack comes from the other direction, then it's going to be a long time before the enemies get to them. So there's a lot of thoughtfulness in this game. It's very strategic, and it's not an easy one to wrap your head around, I'll be honest. I think that's why it's a difficult one for me to recommend. So, based on the group's decision, this one would just be play again. They didn't say it was terrible, they wouldn't want to get rid of it, but they'd want to play it again. But I'm not keeping this for the multiplayer. I got this for the solo. The solo mode itself, I find really tough and challenging, and I like it. I like trying to defend the city, putting my units on the right side to defend against these assaults. I like trying to beat my scores from previous sessions. You can play multiple different factions in the game, and each one plays in different style. It has a unique feel to it. In addition, what you can do is you can switch out the enemies. There are 3 different types of enemies in the game. You have the orcs, you have chaos, and I believe you have Skaven as well. So all 3 of these enemies you can choose from at the beginning of the game, and they will be the ones that are assaulting the city. And yeah, it's a standout. I want to give this game a proper review at some point because I think it's great, but it's not one that's going to have mass appeal. It's a very hard one to recommend, but the art is gorgeous, as you can see. It's not so prevalent on the actual tiles themselves. It's only small images on the tiles, but the cover itself, you can see it's striking. They're using gorgeous art in this game. Even though it's shrunk down, it's small, it's still a very pretty game. And having a hand of tiles instead of a hand of cards is a very unique feel to the game. Nothing represents or feels like this. It's got a unique feel to it, and it really stands out. So that's Rise and Fall of Anvalor. Not one I'd recommend to anybody, but nonetheless, it's one that I'm keeping in my collection for me, for solo, intentionally. I might play it with my family as well, but it's there for me to play. When I want to get it out and take on the Chaos Hordes or take on Skaven, I can drop them onto the board, pick a faction, and I'm playing it very quickly. It has a very minimal setup. I like this game, and for now, it will stay in the collection. Magnastorm. I picked this up in a sale probably a couple of years ago now. I've just not had a chance to play it till this video, really, which has given me encouragement to get it out. I read the rules before and it sounded a bit complicated, so it just got tabled to one side. But I forced myself to go through it, reread the rules, remaster it, and we played it with the group. And it's not as complicated as it first seemed. I must admit, it's not the easiest game to learn, but it's not as complicated as it might first appear. I was sold on this game from its first announcement because of the sci-fi look. I love the art on the cover, and I was interested in the premise. You're basically various corporations vying for influence on this world. You're trying to research the different fields, get onto the surface, drop your turtle pods, as they're called, onto the surface to research in these different areas. But you're going to be doing this while some kind of a storm is moving around the board, blocking off parts of the board. Similar to one of the Dune games, where you will be interacting with the board in half of it and the other half is inaccessible and unusable. But that will continue to turn as the game progresses, and zones that are currently available will in later turns become unusable. So you're kind of moving around the board in a circular fashion. And from the first play, it's quite enjoyable. The group liked it. I was very hesitant on this one, getting it to the table, because I thought it was going to be a bad purchase. I really didn't think it was going to go down well. However, the rules, although they're not the easiest to learn, it's not too complicated a game when you get into it. It's actually reasonably straightforward to follow, but not a simple game, it must be stated. I think there's a lot of good qualities here. From the advancement in your 3 different science sectors, you're going to be dropping these turtle pods onto these points, but you need your vehicle to go to these places first. So you're going to be moving your piece, and then you're going to be dropping the pods where your vehicle is at. So you're trying to get your vehicle to where you want, and you're trying to get to the coloured research zones that you want to drop the turtle pods. So there's a lot of thoughtfulness going on. You're thinking about where you want to be, how to get there. If you're the first to get to a zone, you get to drop one of these bases, which is going to be victory points at the end. There's a lot of ways you can score in this as well. There's various objectives, and you're going to get some random ones dealt out at the start of the game. My biggest gripe with it is it's one of those with some iconography that, not too much, but there is enough that it can stumble you, and you have to keep going back to the book to figure out what these cards or what these objectives are. And this isn't a card-heavy game. All the cards are literally just the commanders that you will take ownership of throughout the course of the game, and the objectives that you must complete. There's no deck of cards. You're not playing cards. All your actions and all of your gameplay is focused around maneuvering on the board itself, placing your turtle pods, and moving pawns from the right-hand board, the action board, from the top half to the lower half, sometimes triggering bonus effects. It's more complicated than I initially would have expected, but it's proved to be an enjoyable experience. We've played one full game of it now, and the group's consensus was we'd like to play it again, hopefully with more people at the table, and we'll give it a final judgment. But Magnastorm is definitely one that's on the edge. It can be sold or it could end up being kept, but I definitely don't think this is a lifetime game. This is not one my group's going to want to keep forever. And that's all the games on that shelf. I'll be doing another video soon going into the next shelf, but we need time to play them all because we are dedicating the time to try these games and get them to the table so that I can give them a fair judgment. I'm hoping to find some games in my collection that I don't like that I can then sell on, and then that will make room for any new games if I want to get anything else in the future. There is a large collection here, and I want to filter it down and remove things that I don't think meet my group's expectations, or they're just something that my group won't get on with. And no, it's been really good motivation to get through these. I hope you've enjoyed listening to these games. Magnastorm is probably the only one that may falter. We're going to give it another game, and depending on how that plays out, that may be the only game that leaves the shelf, but the rest for now are stables. They will stay there. I'll be doing another video soon, like I said, but it's going to take a little time. So I hope you've enjoyed this today. Please hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the notification, and I'll see you all next time.